Black Magic Woman podcast acknowledges the traditional owners of the land we have recorded this episode on. We also acknowledge traditional owners of the land where you, the listener or viewer, are tuning in from. We would like to pay our respects to our elders past and present and acknowledge that this always was Aboriginal land and always will be Aboriginal land.
Welcome to the Black Magic Woman podcast with Mundanara Bayles.
Welcome back to another episode of the Black Magic Woman podcast. It's great to have your company, and I hope that you've been enjoying some of the guests that we've had lately. If this is the first time that you've jumped on, you're in for an absolute treat. I am yarning to I'm finding more and more entrepreneurs that are kind of popping up left, right and centre, which is absolutely amazing to see more of our mob basically practicing self-determination and being our own bosses. So you're basically going to hear from an amazing woman that I've had the absolute pleasure of meeting, well, first by tasting your food, the snack bars, in the hotels that ACOR operate across the country. So before we get into what you do, Jenny, as always, for our guests, I would like to hand the microphone over to you and ask you to introduce yourself. So tell us a little bit about yourself, your name, your mob, and where you grew up.
Okay, so my name is actually Jennifer Dale Khan. There you go. But somehow I've taken on Jenny Khan. Married name, been married for nearly 40 years. 2 kids. I am a Wailwan woman from central west New South Wales, born and raised on country. Left home when I was about 17 and a half and moved to the Big Smoke. The bush was great. I loved living in the bush.
So for people that are listening to us, not just on YouTube now, but all around the world, tell us where Wailwan country is.
Wailwan country borders Wiradjuri.
Okay.
Which is central west New South Wales. So if you go from Sydney to Dubbo,
yes,
and that's a good 4.5 hour drive, and then a further hour and a half west of that. So we sort of sit on the border of the far west of New South Wales.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So this is regional.
Remote?
Yeah,
not remote.
Not remote, no, but definitely regional.
Close to it. Close to it. So we're about an hour and a half from Burke. So Burke's and Burke, in the middle.
Yeah, Burke, Brewarrina.
Yes.
Barkindji mob out that way.
That's right, yeah. My dad's not Barkindji, he was ULEI, but he was born on the Dodge City mission.
Dodge City. There you go. Yeah. I've heard about this mission. And for people that don't even know some of the terminology that we're using, when we talk about the missions, we're referring to the history of this country where Aboriginal people were actually taken and placed on the outskirts of the towns. And they're the missions.
That's right.
So for our mob, like your family, growing up on a mission, you're still on country.
Still on country.
But in Queensland, people were removed way, like further away from country and placed onto reserve. So different when people talk about being removed and growing up on a reserve, 99% of the time that's not on country. Whereas in New South Wales, a lot of our mob was still on country.
Exactly. So when I was born, we were on a little reserve, you could call it, called the Beamunnel. And the Beamunnel was a few miles out of town, a mile off the main road, because you can't see the blackfellas.
Yeah.
And my first house that we lived in was the humpy, the tin shed.
Yeah.
So where the ground was our floor, and Mum used to hose that ground down because it was very powdery.
Yes, the dust wasn't all in the air.
She had 5 kids in that tin shed.
Wow.
And there was lots of different, all our families lived there. So we grew up with our mob on that ground.
On the
and there was a river that went through it, like a Urumar Creek, but we called it the Beamunnel. And so we had to get the bus to school,
They actually picked you up.
They picked us up on the main road.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Dad said to me, because my dad would be in your generation growing up with the dirt.
Yeah.
And the humpy talks about his grandfather was a deadly bush mechanic.
Yeah.
And he literally made that tin humpy using scrap metal.
Scrap metal.
From the tip.
That's right.
How deadly are our people.
You can't even go to the tip now.
I know.
You're not
You've
allowed
got to pay to be there too.
You're not allowed to go scavenging at the tip anymore. Even in Warren,
Our mob were pretty deadly.
Pretty deadly.
With utilising whatever they could.
Yeah.
Within those circumstances that they were in and the conditions they were subjected to live under and live in. And
that's right. So Dad's from a small town called Warren. Quambone. Quambone and Galargambone,
Stop it.
Canamble.
I lived in Canamble.
Oh, did you? There you go. And so we would do the loop, Warren, Quambone, Canamble, just do that sort of circle.
Yeah.
And half the time we didn't know, we just went with Dad.
Yeah,
you know
following
what I mean?
maybe work.
Yeah. No, not for work.
Not even for work.
No, Dad lived in Mum's community.
Yeah.
His community lived on the mission in Quambone.
Okay.
And I think, that's where I learned how to play bingo on the mission.
Oh, look,
I loved it. I loved all my mob, like we used to go to this little tiny swimming pool and we still have fond memories. And Dad is buried there.
Yeah.
And my grandfather from my mum's side is buried there because Mum and Dad all grew up in a similar community.
Yeah.
But different mob. You know what I mean?
But everyone knows each other and where you belong and who your family is.
That's right. But, like Warren was it's a great little town. But things have changed now over the years, But I left Warren when I was like 17.
Yeah.
And moved to Sydney to live with my auntie because you got to live with someone, eh?
Oh, of course.
You got to have someone look after you.
Yes. Well, it's just that support network, especially for young, Murrays or Kooris or Noongas, wherever you're from, coming to the big smoke, usually to chase opportunities. And to see what the fuss is about because everyone says, I remember first when we left Sydney to go to Queensland, our cousins were calling us country bumpkins.
That's right.
And, we felt like we were out of our comfort zone because Redfern was one stop and is still one stop from Central Station in Sydney. So growing up on the block for me, then going to Brisbane, which was like a big town, big city in like the country.
Yeah.
A lot of, our mob going to the big smoke, chasing opportunities. So you got a husband, you got a son.
Got a son, I got a daughter.
Talented son, and you got a daughter too.
Yeah, yeah.
Big shout out to you, mob, listening now to your mum.
Yeah, they're pretty cool, those two.
Yeah.
Like my daughter's now moved to North Queensland, to Townsville. She's got a Murray boy, who's lovely as well. But she's a writer for TV. She writes for TV.
Yeah.
So she's just written on the latest Heartbreak High.
Stop it.
She's written an episode on
Maybe you need to be on this show, my
she
titter.
Does, yeah.
And your son is a film
director. But he's also he's qualified chartered accountant.
Oh, look, you're too much. Your family's too much. But this is what we need.
What it's all about.
We need mainstream Australians and more of our own mob. Because mainstream media don't showcase black excellence. Unfortunately, that don't sell.
Yeah.
So that's why, platforms like this, to me, mean so much to me to be able to showcase how deadly our people are. Because we don't tell everyone.
We don't tell everyone.
Hey, by the way, my daughter's this and my son's this. Yeah.
They're going to listen to me. I'll skite all the way.
Yeah.
But...
Well, let's guide up about you.
Oh, about me. Well, yeah, that's a little bit different, isn't it? Because you always like to talk about your kids and that. So, they're doing very well. He changed his career. Now he's a filmmaker.
Yeah.
And he's done Barumbi Kids, they're on NITV now. I think it's on Netflix now.
And now something else on Stan.
On Stan, he did directed an episode on Stan on Bump.
Yes.
With Claudia Carvin, which has been really good.
Look, just Claudia Carvin.
Yeah, just throw it out there. Yeah. And my daughter, she's across 4 TV shows that are going to come out at the end of this year.
Wow.
And Netflix is one of those, an SBS one, which I can't really say.
Yeah.
Only because it's going to be, but 2 deadly Aboriginal actors playing main roles in that one.
Oh, look out. You're getting a little bit of a teaser here on the Black Magic Woman podcast.
Yeah, so she's got a few things happening, but she's having a rest at the moment. For me, I've always had the belief that there's so much power in language. Yeah. Language is huge.
It is.
So for me raising my kids, the language was that never year 10. It was always HSC and university. Yeah. Because I always thought that's what you had to do, and that's what I did. But I did it back to front. I got married, had kids, and then I went to uni.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I did my bachelor's and I did my postgrads, postgrad certificates.
What did you do your bachelor's in?
I did my bachelor's in a community welfare.
Yes,
And
which is that's kind of like when you think about our mob.
Yes.
It's either education,
welfare worker, nurse,
a nurse, like health education.
Yep.
Now a little bit law
us.
because of the fact that our mob are the most incarcerated people on the planet. So
100%.
a lot of us want to get into that kind of justice degree or become a lawyer.
Yep.
So you studied community welfare.
Community welfare.
Yeah.
At Western Sydney University.
Yeah.
Back in the 90s.
Yeah. And then your postgrad.
Then my postgrad in adult education.
Okay.
At UTS.
And you
Then I
told
did-
me that you taught my sister Jida Bayles. So
Yes,
Jida.
at Eora.
Yes. You went missing, never come back.
That's all right. We had a few of them like that.
Yeah, and that's just our
That's
mob.
life.
That's life, and
Yeah.
that's our mob, and we know our mob really well. And I guess in terms of postgrad, and then a couple of years doing other stuff before you actually thought you'd launch a business. How did you end up launching The Unexpected Guest?
This is my third business that I've been involved in, actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the first business was compressed natural gas, which I started with my husband.
Compressed natural gas.
So we set up natural gas service stations in Pakistan. And so we would source all the equipment and ship it to Pakistan. So the head office was my bedroom.
Stop it. But that's how
So
we do it.
basically
That's
how we did
usually-
it. And that really fueled his family's lifestyle in their country. And then we did another business with another partnership, which was fine. And we all divorced amicably. They're still great mates of ours.
Yeah.
But before we divorced, we really realised, if I was going to do something, I needed to be front and centre. I didn't want to be behind anymore because I didn't really want to go back to teaching as well. So it had to be a business that we had our logo 3 years before we had our business. So it was really important. We had our business name, everything. So it took me a while to find a business that I could actually get my teeth into. And by the time The Unexpected Guest came around for sale, it actually was selling products that I'd already changed in my own pantry at home because I had lots of allergies to certain foods, and I was doing a process of elimination to get rid of
I did
those
that with my
allergies.
son who had eczema. Still has eczema.
Yeah.
You can't tell 11-year-old, don't eat this, don't know.
No, it's hard.
But for my breast milk, I had to do that elimination process.
Yeah.
So you basically started doing this at home.
Yeah, it just changed all my pantry around, trying to use non-refined ingredients, a lot of organic flours, organic sugars.
No preservatives, no additives.
Just cook everything at home.
Yeah.
Don't even I make my own spaghetti sauce. You know what I mean? I have to do everything from scratch. And then when the Unexpected Guest came along, well, the name resonated with me more than anything. I'm sure the accountant thought it was a bad decision.
So The Unexpected Guest was on the market.
It was on the market.
For sale.
And it was a female business in Byron Bay.
Yeah.
And so I wanted something that I didn't have to cook in. It was outsourced.
Yes.
Contract manufacturing in place.
Yeah.
And it was organic, certified organic at that time. And I always thought then, as we got into the business, that we would always make products with Indigenous botanicals.
Love.
And it took us about a year or so to do that, and it took us a year to change all of our branding. So we did that in 2016, which was a big journey. I had no idea about food manufacturing business at all. Had absolutely zilch. I'm a great cook. I can cook pretty much anything, but I cannot tell you about food manufacturing. But I can tell you everything now, basically.
Yeah.
What I know is
I could do inside out of the whole business.
Yeah. Inside, everything.
Yeah.
Right down to sourcing ingredients.
Yeah.
Making sure that our certifications are in place and there's traceability everywhere. We have HACCP in place, which is your hazard and critical control points for every aspect of the business. We then going out and do sales, tracking your inventory, marketing, changing your brand. When we changed our brand from what it looked like when I bought it to how it looks now, we got a lot of pushback. So customers that were in place dropped off.
Oh.
And I like to think that they couldn't find us on the shelf rather than thinking that maybe they made a decision based on race. you know. So
Because they were now buying from an Aboriginal business.
you're now buying from an Aboriginal business. This is how we used to look. This is how we now look with the kangaroo paw.
I love the kangaroo paw.
Yeah. So, and the dots going through it represent the river I grew up on.
I knew it was the river.
So it was very important to us.
Yes.
We lived on freshwater fish, you know, you got old yellow belly and freshwater
Jewfish,
cod.
lungfish, no?
No,
That
not
was
like
in our
that.
river.
Was it
Dawson River.
Not in ours.
Yep, different fish, yep.
Different fish,
Yeah.
brim, catfish,
Yeah.
which I never really liked.
Yeah.
Bit slimy.
Yeah, too much.
But we lived on a lot of emu eggs growing up as well.
Yeah.
Always go emu nesting every year when possible. Still do.
Yes.
My kids and grandkids try and do that now.
Yeah.
But, you know, like my company is called Wamble Dreaming, and Wamble is the Wiradjuri word for the Macquarie River.
Okay.
So
Is that getting renamed to the
Yes.
Wamble River?
Yes.
Okay.
They're going to have a dual name.
I heard about this.
Thanks to the Wiradjuri people who have really pushed
Who
for
fought
that.
for it, yeah.
Yeah, they've lobbied for it and advocated why it should be back to its original name, you know.
Yes.
So the Macquarie River runs through my town all the way down to the Macquarie Marshes, which is a, you know, environmentally safe place for
Yes.
everything. But that still, it lives and breathes us. So when I changed my branding to reflect who we were, yeah, it did get well received, and I think I probably lost in that 1 year around $100,000 in sales.
Wow.
And then hats off to all those customers who stuck with us.
I was going to say, but that's also got to motivate you to go, you know what? We're here. This is aligned with our values, with our purpose, with culture. And we want to go out there and take over the market, because there's not many Aboriginal businesses that are Aboriginal owned. There are a lot of joint ventures, and that's okay. But to have an Aboriginal business that's now playing in spaces that so when I check into, say, the Pullman Hotel, the Pullman down in Sydney, there's the Pullman Hyde Park. I know that there's Shadow Peppers in Melbourne.
Yes.
Some of the hotels that I'm checking into, and the Mantras.
The Mantra Legend here in Surfers Paradise.
Yes.
The Sofitel Darling in Surfers Paradise.
They've got the little
Magnificent
packs,
support.
right? And that's usually the loyalty levels.
Loyalty, yes.
You get these beautiful little arrival packs, and it's the unexpected guest. So in that box, what's in those box? So our listeners and viewers on YouTube can hear, and I'm sure they're going to go to your website and have a look at these products.
Can I just do a bit of a shout out there?
Yes.
Yeah. Shout out to Mark Benny,
Yes.
because he helped us he really advocated for us. When I first met Mark Benny, he said, you know, I don't really have any power, but I can be your voice.
Yeah.
You know, I can
And
be
this
your
is
voice.
ACOR.
ACOR, yes.
Probably the largest hospitality chain or company in the world.
In the world.
Globally.
Yes, yeah.
So
he introduced us to the loyalty team.
Yes.
During COVID.
Yeah.
And from that we designed these packs. And so we are at the gold, platinum and diamond levels.
Yes.
So at the gold level you'll get 3 prebiotic health bars.
Yeah.
At the platinum level you'll get 6. You know, 2 of each.
Yes.
And then at the diamond level, which is what you would have seen in the Pullman.
Yes.
You will get 3 bars, a lemon myrtle tea, which comes from our sister girl, my dilly bag, Dale Chapman.
Big shout out to Annie Dale.
Big shout out to her. And a tea infuser. And we also work with Dale to create a little recipe card that goes with that. So people know how much lemon myrtle to use, because it's quite a powerful herb. You
like
know, that
green
we have.
tea and jasmine tea.
Yes,
Like you only need a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's been really quite successful.
So there's a collaboration now between two black businesses that are now across a core in some of those high-end properties.
And it's a really, I really believe that's one of my biggest values, is to get Aboriginal business women in my business. So we also do other packs with like amber food wraps.
Yes.
We've done it with...
is that the beeswax?
The beeswax wraps.
Yes.
Yeah. We've done it with... Deb Munson up in Coffs Harbour with her cosmetic range. So we have her lip balms.
Okay, yeah.
Which is beautiful. And then we've also did a little bit with Indigenous.
Okay, I've seen some of Indigenous. I think it's Sharon.
Sharon Windsor, yeah.
Yes, Windsor. I met her at the Supply Nation Connect trade show. And I just want to say really quickly
all the time.
that, bumping into your team, that was showcasing.
Yes.
I left something for you, and I'm like, we need to yarn.
That's right.
And here we are now on the podcast, literally sharing the success of this deadly business venture. Obviously not your first business venture. What are you...
It's mine.
Yes, it's
this
yours.
One is mine.
Yeah, the rest of your little joint ventures and partnerships that you divorced from.
That's right.
What do you have coming up? What are you now trying to do? Is there anything that you can share with us? Have you got new products that you want to launch? Is there anything that we can hear first here on the podcast?
We are working on a nut-free range.
Okay.
Yeah. So a nut-free muesli and a nut-free bar. And I'm trying to include another Aboriginal female women's business in that.
Yes.
And trying to get some finger lime chocolate chips to go into that bar.
Wow.
And so if I can do that, then that would be great. We're working on it. It's taken us a while to get to this stage, mainly because the opportunity wasn't there. There's a bit of an opportunity now. And we've also created 2 protein bliss balls.
Oh, I was going to say the wellness. What was the food at fasting? You sent me some bars.
The meal replacement bar.
The meal replacement bar.
Yeah, it's a meal in a bar.
Yes.
A full meal.
Yes.
Yes. Have you tried it?
Well, this morning.
Oh, okay. It should take you until lunchtime.
Well, I broke my intermittent fasting. Because it rocked up. I've been away for a week. I grabbed the bars, jumped in the car this morning, knew that I was yarning with you on the podcast.
Yeah.
So I started tasting it, and I studied nutritional medicine and naturopathy. So straight away I was already going, oh my God, loved the almonds, the whole almonds in it. Yes.
Yeah.
So I can and 3 different protein
bars,
powders in the bar. Or is there one protein powder?
No. In the meal replacement bar, we have protein in that.
Yes.
We don't have protein in the snack bars.
No. Just in the meal replacement bar.
In the meal replacement bar. But with the 2 new balls that are coming out, they also have 10 grams of protein in those.
Okay.
So they'll be similar to the bar, but in a ball. But we've got lemon myrtle and wattle seed again, because I chose those 2 really because that's something that I think are more familiar with Australians.
Yeah.
They can sort of get their head around.
Yeah.
They're not really on board completely with our native foods yet, with our botanicals that are in our own backyard.
They need to catch up because
100%.
chefs all around the world are saying that this is an industry, right, that's not even... we're not tapping into it. And whoever is actually, in that industry and commercialising or benefiting monetarily are non-Aboriginal people.
That's exactly right.
Where can we get these bars from if we're not part of a cause program?
Well, you can jump online.
Yes.
We have our own website.
Yes.
So www.theunexpectedguest.com/shop.
Yeah.
That's quite easy to get access to the bars.
They ship to you.
And they get shipped to you, $10 flat rate across Australia.
Yes.
So I feel a bit sorry for Sydney people, but that's the rates at the moment. Can't deal with logistics half the time. And then you can actually buy them at Harris Farms in Sydney, across Harris Farms, across BP service stations in Australia.
Okay.
Selected BP servos across Australia, which has been really good. We have a number of stores in Queensland that buy for us directly, like the Ray Organic stores.
Oh, yes.
Palm Beach, there's a Whole Food store. They generally buy the bulk mueslis for their stores. And we have a store in Melbourne. The other store that was really assisting us quite a bit and pushing a lot with our products was Trading Black.
Oh, yes.
Love Trading Black and Jaron.
Yes, Jaron, big shout out.
Awesome.
Really quickly, Trading Black is about literally... It's providing a platform. They're on Instagram and stuff, but you have to be 100% Black owned.
That's right.
To be part of this, to stock your stuff with Jaron. And I remember going to the store at Warringah Westfield Shopping Centre, the first Aboriginal retailer, with all these
Westfield.
Black businesses that are 100% Aboriginal owned, because as we know, the definition of an Indigenous business and Supply Nation's definition is 51% or more.
Yes.
And then the Commonwealth Government, I think, is 50%. So with Jaron, I wanted to stock some of my tote bags, Black Magic Woman tote bags and teas, but because my partnership is with Clothing the Gaps, that's not 100% Indigenous business. So Jaron's like, sis, I want to stop. I said, all good, sis. I didn't bring out merch to make money. I brought merch out to thank the guests that are coming on the podcast. And it took me a couple of years to get enough money to then invest in some merch, which I'm going to give you before you leave. But what do you want to do? Who do you want to work with? Who do you want to stock? Where do you want to see the unexpected guest?
I am trying to push for the unexpected guest to go global.
Yeah.
That's going to take a bit of time because if you don't have your supply chain in place properly, then you can actually burn yourself big time. Basically, I want to be everywhere. I don't want to be in one space. You know, I don't. The supermarkets are not the only space to play in. I want to be across all corporates. I'd love to be across all defence. I want to be the tier 2 supplier to government. I understand I'm too small for a tier 1.
Yes.
Which Crystal knows all about.
Yes.
Against the Crystal Concealers.
Yes.
So tier 1s, the people like Compass and the people like Ventia and
the big
Hatercare, the big groups, And I don't think there's I don't think there's a benchmark. I think you just go as far as you can.
The sky's the limit, right?
My mother had a saying, you're black, you have to be better than best.
Yeah, we do.
Better than best. That always
we are
stuck with me.
we're told, we're taught, we're trained, we're programmed, whatever you want to call it. We have to work 10 times harder. Yeah. And we have to be 10 times better.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And the other side of it is that I just want to employ black kids.
Yes. How many people do you have at the moment?
I have 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yep.
4.
Yep.
My daughter drops in and helps.
Of course, the family.
Paid.
Yeah.
No.
For the love.
For the love, her mother's done heaps for her.
Yes. Yeah.
But I have 2 part-timers.
Yep.
One of those is on the spectrum.
Yeah.
And he's amazing, and works with his headphones on, has his TV, his shows going while he's working, but
does
he
what
comes
he
out
does.
to work.
I love that.
He packs down platinum and gold for a core. I have another one, Kobe. He's a university student who doesn't fit the space for ab study.
Yeah.
So you've got all these Aboriginal kids out there whose parents are working really hard. So it takes them out of that.
Yeah, they don't get that support.
They don't get that support.
And here's all these people thinking that Aboriginal people get all these benefits, all this extra money, and you get ab study, and that's for Aboriginal people. I'm like, we just talked to Aboriginal people from Centrelink.
That's right.
We don't get more money. And I was the same.
Yeah.
My dad earned too much money, so none of us met the criteria.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. My mum, myself and my husband worked really hard all the time. My kids didn't get anything either.
Yeah.
So that's but I feel quite proud of that too.
Of course. My dad was the same.
Yeah,
but hey, I left home at 15.
That's right.
Had to go get a job.
Yeah.
And you've got a lot of this kind of stereotyping and this stigma, which, we won't unpack today, but most people know.
No.
Where you can hear that, go to blackhard.com.au, come and do my training. But I just want to say, Jenny, you sitting here face to face, taking time out of your busy schedule.
Oh, it's been amazing. Thank you.
Thank you for coming and sharing your amazing story with us. And I hope that people that are listening to this, whether you're running your own business, one of the big 4, one of the banks where I go into, and there's these snacks on the table. When I get on a plane, there are snacks that are handed out. I hope that someone listening to this podcast or even watching on YouTube reach out to you because they've heard about the unexpected guest here on the Black Magic Woman podcast.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. And another big shout out to all those Aboriginal businesses, as First Nation businesses who buy from us too. We have so many. I was surprised how many Aboriginal businesses actually do purchase our products for their workshops.
Yeah.
For their training programs and everything.
And for gifts.
And this has been for gifts for their clients.
Christmas
for the
is
family.
coming up, everyone.
Yes, care packs.
Care packs, corporate gifts, universities. There's 39 universities in the country. We've got airlines, hotels. And now we're talking about how deadly black businesses are when it comes to supporting each other.
And we're delivering as you are. You're like, look at this podcast and look at what you're doing across the space. And thank you for the opportunity for me to come and talk about what we do. It's been amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah. Look, I just want to say everything that we've spoken about will be in our show notes, so don't you worry. You'll be able to access even Crystal Kinsella's book talking about procurement for a lot of our small to medium enterprises that are First Nations enterprises. How do they take the next step? So we'll have those in the show notes. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Until next time, bye for now. If you'd like any more info on today's guest, please visit our show notes in the episode description. A big shout out to all you Deadly Mob and allies who continue to listen, watch and support our podcast. Your feedback means the world. You can rate and review the podcast on Apple and Spotify, or even head to our socials and YouTube channel and drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you. The Black Magic Woman podcast is produced by Clint Curtis.